I'm not convinced that we're not an artificial intelligence. I know that comes down, that comes down to a definition, right? It is, in my kind of exploration of thought, I was talking about something I call the Techno-Terrestrial Hypothesis. Something that is, to me, interesting. I was talking about this years ago, trying to understand, and weave together the best insights that I have on this. But it does, there's an argument to be made that human consciousness is somehow embedded, almost like directed panspermia, though, onto Earth, and that this is happening all over the vast universe by maybe another intelligence.
Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the goddamn internet. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about Jeremy Corbell, and he's recently made some pretty significant statements and shared his thoughts and opinions. And the more you know about him and his podcast Weaponize, George Knapp, his whole story, the more serious you will take his thoughts and ideas. So this is his theory about aliens, right? Us being AI. I would personally reason through it in a way where I'd say we are the biological AI that somehow formed, and maybe this technological approach that we're heading towards is we're just trying to make ourselves in a way with technology, and then who says biological tech is more efficient or technological tech is more efficient, right? So yeah, there's still a lot of things to figure out in regards to that. And as for the that makes sense a little bit, like a civilization spreading their seed, making sure that they stay alive. Sounds like something Elon Musk would budget for, right? Making sure that the species is multiplanetary. But by the time a seed reaches another planet or system, right, there must be so many different changes in the original species to get to that point. Like, so many things to consider, right? But yeah, as always, we're going to be covering it. We're doing daily uploads. Make sure you subscribe, notifications on to not miss a thing. Like, comment, it helps a lot. Share, because that helps the absolute most. And without further ado, get your snacks, get your popcorn, because today we're going to be looking into some seriously cool shit, and guys, you're going to want to be here for it. Stay till the end. Best part of the day as always.
I'm not convinced that we're not an artificial intelligence. I know that comes down, that comes down to a definition, right? It is, in my kind of exploration of thought, I was talking about something I call the Techno-Terrestrial Hypothesis. Something that is, to me, interesting. I was talking about this years ago, trying to understand, and weave together the best insights that I have on this. But it does, there's an argument to be made that human consciousness is somehow embedded, almost like directed panspermia, though, onto Earth, and that this is happening all over the vast universe by maybe another intelligence, maybe, as you said, transcended the need for physical form, right? So if that's
transcending the need for physical form, Jesus Christ, what the fuck does that mean, right? Yeah, so when you start talking about this veil, what's behind the veil, you get into extra dimensional talk, angels and demons. You get into us just being able to see a very specific and narrow part of the actual entire light spectrum. And I just wonder why and how haven't we developed tools that are able to see into this range. But we have some tools like infrared, and there's been said that infrared can see a lot more anomalous activity, right? But is there not something that can check out all wavelengths? Like, what the fuck would that even look like? Like, why aren't more people having this type of discussion?
The case, we would be an artificial intelligence. And then we say, well, are we sentient? Well, it depends how you define that term. Sentience might be a multi-layered thing, and we are experiencing sentience on one level. So if you really kind of step back, again, I'm not convinced wholly that we aren't some semi-artificial intelligence. It is also an idea that we may provide some use to another intelligence. So you said, why would they do that? Why would they go around at that point and create these forms and seed? I think we're talking about like seeding different planets and stuff. You know, why would you do that? And I don't know the motivation of a conscious being that has had billions of years, transcended physical form.
Maybe to conserve consciousness, and if it's not that, like you've got to think, if more than one species has consciousness, if you're conscious, has to be appreciated by other conscious beings that are at least, you know, to a certain extent, self-conscious and, you know, self-reflecting beings or whatever the fuck. I don't even know, but it's pretty interesting to think about.
All the stuff we're hypothesizing about.
Of course, yeah.
So, but I do wonder that when we get to this point, maybe this is happening everywhere. Maybe the idea is that you can seed this form of life, this may be artificial to that planet, but this form of life around the cosmos. And maybe there's a purpose for that. You know, I have heard, you know, these old school ideas that, you know, we are containers for something. Well, containers for what? What is value? What is the commodity that we are helping to carry under that theory and idea? And, you know, of course, there's a lot of other ideas about that. You know, it could be, you know, the soul. But again, how do you define that? Like, what does that mean? We are I feel like I'm wearing a meat suit, but the me, you know, the ego and the self and the consciousness, that this is just helping me to express that. So if I'm already feeling that, I can only imagine the possibilities of what the human design, you know, could be holding. You know, even within our genetic code, you know, there's information that builds us. That's information. That's data. So maybe this is a techno-terrestrial kind of thing where, you know, the whole universe as we know it is constantly seeded with what we call life.
And then you got to consider things as well, like what would people, Homo sapiens, look like, you know, 1,000 years into the future or even more. Multiply that with whichever number you'd want. But every scientist would tell you, as far as I know, that eyes get larger, it gets bigger. We become like children as adults. Like, we become smaller, you know? Like, no more need for survival instincts or, you know, being like overly large to be able to protect yourself in the wild and shit, because we're past that stage. So the developments are seemingly, you know, more domesticated humans. So that's got to be considered. And these so-called aliens, NHI, a lot of times are reported as looking like these future humans, and Townsend Brown working on creating a gravitational force and gravitational forces affecting gravity. So there's just so many things you've got to talk about if you actually want to get down to it, right?
No. And that life could go back to exist before the Big Bang, before, you know, sure. It could have come here from the previous universe. It could, who knows how far back in time, you know, this thing has existed, right? That we're talking about.
And then I really resonate with that idea where it's like, then our purpose is then to sort of reintegrate technology in our modern world and then invent the thing that created us again in many points all over the universe, all at once, all the time.
Seemingly in conjunction with nature, too.
Right. Yeah.
You know, alongside nature, not in a destructive manner towards nature.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you can't destroy nature, because if you do, you're blowing up your own planet, and then it doesn't work.
But that's like not all the plants flower. Right. You know, and
right.
Hopefully we flower.
Yeah. But that would tie into why people are getting these messages of like, be good shepherds to your planet. Don't go the way of the bomb. Go the way of like love, peace, harmony.
That seems to be the message.
We can collectively grow and become something and leave the planet, spread this further, keep the whole thing, keep the grand thing going, you know?
Which is funny because sometimes the encounters that I hear that I believe that person had that experience, it's an indifference, a complete sterile indifference. And then other times you hear about these very powerful, you know, often positive, sometimes frightening experiences, like at the Arrow School and the Liesel and Salma are friends of mine. I've heard them tell me over time what they encountered when they're very close to that being that landed at the kids' school. And they said it was like, the word they used was mesmerizing. You know, like it held their attention while putting almost like pictures within their minds. And Liesel said she had to break away and then it was just gone. Like the second she broke away, it's just gone. So you wonder, maybe that's a form of communication, but you do wonder, are they telling us as it is? Or are they telling us as they want us to believe it? And that's the other issue that you have is just because...
Are they spreading disinformation?
You know, you got to ask. You got some super smart guy come in the room. They can convince you of some shit. You got to be fucking careful. You don't just believe him because he's got a PhD.
Yeah. And another thing that is predicted is pale skin. People are going to get paler. No need for pigmentation anymore. I don't know how real that fact is, but if anyone does know a lot of and have interest in that field that knows more, please let us know in the comments down below. Like, imagine that these pale ass humans seeming so weird, right? Noses getting smaller because we're not going to need to smell things as much, because, you know, I think we developed it to tell us whether something is poisonous or not pleasant in a way, because somehow our nose, smell and taste buds within our mouth, you know, you can smell if something is good or bad, like somehow that connects. And yeah, so supposedly noses get smaller, mouths get smaller, I think, not entirely sure, but all interesting things to consider, right?